Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. I'm your host, Michelle White, and my host, Dr. Regina Hall. We are here and we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for the over 80,000 listeners and viewers that are tuning in right here live on Wjzz Cool Tv, Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. You are able to catch us every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and one of the easiest ways to always see us is on Facebook or YouTube from 6 to 7 p.m. And you're free to call in when we open the phone lines at area code 313-355-6018. Again, that's area code 313-355-6018. So, we always like to get started with a few community update things, but we do have Dr. Keon Payton here, who is with us this evening, who's going to be he's been one of our guests previously and going to share with us about ITEJ, the Institute of Trauma and Economic Development, and Economic Justice, that's ITEJ. And we were slated to have Hill Harper, who is running for U.S. Senator this evening, but some things happened within his schedule, some conflicts, and he was not able to come this evening, but he will be here on August the 30th?
Yep.
So the next day, we're setting up the date of August the 30th. But for all of those who were waiting, we have plenty of people waiting to ask him plenty of questions because we want to vet our candidates and ask them questions. So we're looking forward to have Mr. Hill Harper to come back, but we're and who is running for Michigan U.S. Senator. We're looking to have him again on August the 30th. But we have this evening Dr. Keon Payton, who is going to be sharing some wonderful things with us as well. But before we get started, we always like to tell you about some community update things that are happening. And one of them is there are plenty of people, diabetes runs rampant in various communities, and in particular within the Black community, but all communities and cultures of people. So there's something called the DAD program, which is the Defense Against Diabetes. This is a free Zoom class for 8 weeks that you can take for free. Can we say free? Free Zoom class. So you don't have to come in. It's Zoom that you can take. It's a collaboration between the Lions Club International and the National Kidney Foundation. So the classes starting September the 14th, and they go through November the 8th. So you can call this number to sign up to take the class. Again, it is free. Call 810-923-2954. Again, that's 810-923-2954. I'm going to repeat it one more time for the people in the back. 810-923-2954. That is a free class on diabetes prevention, or maybe you're already a diabetic, or maybe you're trying not to become a diabetic, or maybe you have a loved one who's diabetic and you want to find out more about that. So you can just give them a call, sign up for this class. It is free, 8 weeks from September 14th through November the 2nd. Again, you can dial 810-923-2954. And I always tell you that right now is time for school. So if you're looking to get into school, people ask all the time, because I work in the educational environment, and can I sign up for school? Well, registration started 2 months ago. Classes for every collegiate institution are getting ready to start either, within the next couple of weeks, or they don't start anymore after September. So go to whatever school you want to go to and sign up today. Please go to my Facebook page for many of the other job opportunities. I post things all week about free events. There are different free events, and if you want to call in and tell about your free event, please feel free to do so. People call me now and ask me all the time to remember to talk about their event. Can't do it. I need you to call in yourself at 313-355-6018 and share. just share for a moment. We don't need 2 or 3 people calling in about the same event, but share about your one event. Call in, because we had that one time. Somebody had 3 people calling in to tell us about the same event. Call in, share about your event. There are only over 80,000 people listening to this show. And again, we thank you for listening. So again, we're going to jump right in and talk to Dr. I'm sorry, you've got an event.
Yes,
ma'am.
I do. So on September the 16th, 2023, yes, we are celebrating Women Empowering Girls Tea Party. And that is for the celebrating the International Day of the Girl. So September the 16th is really about us raising awareness as well as monies for we can make sure that we are providing for our girls toiletries and different things that they may need on October the 11th. And so we invite you to join us at the Women's Empowering Girls Tea Party on September the 16th. It's going to be at the Tapestry Banquet Hall. And you can find out more information on sistersjourneyingtogether.org. And you can go there and you can click on the International Day of the Girl and register to attend the tea party. So I'm really excited about it because we are raising awareness on diversity as well as inclusion and equality. So thank you.
And, Dr. Hall, there's also another event that I did not bring the information with me, but there's a Build a Bed. There are plenty of children that are sleeping on the floor and don't have beds. Well, there's an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and we're going to see about having it brought to the greater Detroit area, but right now they have a Build a Bed project where you can help build beds, bunk beds for children that are sleeping on the floor. And within a certain zip code, you can receive a free bed. So it's called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Again, the information is on my Facebook page, Michelle Turner White. But if you could give them a call right now, they're looking for volunteers for September the 9th to help with the Build a Bed project. And you can go to sleepinheavenlypeace.org and sign up for the event to be held. sleepinheavenlypeace.org to sign up for building a bed. This one will be held at Lowe's Home Improvement Store in Westland. But we're working on even bringing another one right to the inner city because there are plenty of children that unfortunately that are sleeping on the floor. So Sleep in Heavenly Peace, go there.org and sign up today. Or you can give a call at 734-331-0567. Again, that's 734-331-0567, and see about signing up for September the 9th to build beds.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Regina, would you like to share the bio of Dr. Keon Payton, our wonderful guest this evening, who just got back from South Africa? And I was just looking at the pictures. He was really with the tigers and the lions and the giraffes and everything. Oh, I said, now that's the type of trip to Africa that I want to go on. But Dr. Regina, would you share a little bit of his bio, please?
Well, yeah, just a little.
Thank you.
Because I just believe that we're going to end up talking about a lot of things that you do because it intertwines, right?
Yeah.
Your education, your ministry, all of that intertwines, and your organization. So I'm really excited about that. So what I will say, though, congratulations to Dr. Keon, because he recently received your Doctor of Ministry. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And
May
so
2023.
Yeah, May 2023.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's great. He received it from Garrett Evangelical Seminary at Northwestern University. Now, that's in Chicago, correct?
Yes, Evanston, Illinois.
Okay, Evans, Illinois. Okay. He is also a 2001 graduate from Morehouse College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Religion and Philosophy. He also obtained his Master of Divinity degree from Princeton Theology Seminary.
Theological?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well, actually, it's a
correction.
theology seminary.
okay.
Yeah. And I was going to say theological because I'm
That's
graduate.
what it is.
Can you
It's
okay, yeah, okay.
we'll give it our team to fix that.
All right. Because I was going to say that because I graduated from Ashland Theological Seminary. So, all right. And in addition, Dr. Payton holds special certifications in nonprofit management from Kellogg School of Management at the Northwestern University, theology and racialized policy and justice reform from Howard University. And I'm going to stop right there because you are a trainer of trainers with the Adverse Childhood ACEs. Correct?
Experiences, yes.
Yeah, experiences. Thank you. And so I want to jump into that with you. But first, Michelle did mention about South Africa, and I think it's fitting. You're just getting back for you to talk about it and share some things that went on and why you went.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just returned from both Johannesburg and Cape Town, South Africa. It was a trip that was sponsored by Young People Global Travel Edge, which is a nonprofit organization that's run by Sonia Weston, who is a sister here in the Metro Detroit area who's doing some phenomenal things in exposing young people to global cultural immersions. And so I had the very fortunate pleasure of taking my oldest daughter, who just turned 9 on Saturday, and it was her first time out of the country on a trip like that. There were about 25 children and youth from the Metro Detroit area, and we had an absolute ball. In Johannesburg, we had the opportunity to go on safari. We met with the grandson of Nelson Mandela.
Really?
Indaba Mandela. Yeah,
Okay.
who spoke to the kids and encouraged the kids with his story and his upbringing in certainly the legacy of his grandfather in the fight for freedom from the apartheid. We visited the Apartheid Museum there, and then we traveled from Johannesburg to Cape Town, where in Cape Town we had the pleasure and opportunity of visiting Robben's Island, where Nelson Mandela spent 18 years of his 27-year sentence for fighting apartheid, and it was transformative to see what our brothers and sisters endured during apartheid and how similar their story is from ours dealing with slavery here in America. So it was a wonderful educational, cultural trip for youth and children, and I'm just very excited not only for this trip, but for the future trips that YTP will be putting on for young people. And one last thing I'll say about that is there were a couple of other organizations from Metro Detroit that are doing some phenomenal work. You all may know Gail Perry Mason.
Yes.
She was with us on the trip with students from her Money Matters program. We had
Which
Dr.
she does at Wayne County Community College.
She does at Wayne County Community. Yeah, she does in several places. This year, I
Yes.
think it was at Fellowship Chapel.
Oh, was it?
With
Okay.
Dr. Wendell Anthony at his church. But so she and her organization was represented. We had an organization called Each One Teach One that's run by Dr. Patricia Ferguson, who is a physician, but she runs an excellent educational program, tutoring students and young people. And then we had a young brother from Detroit named David Woods, who has an organization called Enjoy Detroit, where he's working in the community, inspiring young people with his own personal story and testimony. So it was just exciting. We had a great group of kids and a great group of adult leaders who together we were able to put on a phenomenal excursion and foreign trip opportunity for these young people here in Detroit.
Wow, that was awesome. You know, you remind me of the time when we went to Greece and Rome, actually, where Paul was in the prison.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
and
preached
so
that Sunday.
I can only imagine
Oh, yeah.
how that must have felt for Mandela, because I can just tell you it was just breathtaking to be just where Paul had walked and stepped.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I actually we stood in the cell where he
Yes.
slept on the floor for 18 years, and it was something to see.
Yes.
You know, when he returned and did his came here after he had was let out of prison, and he was here. I think it was at Tiger Stadium.
Yep.
Were you all there?
Yes.
Wasn't
And he
that
called it
awesome?
Motor Town.
Yes. Yes, but it was awesome to hear his peacefulness in
Absolutely.
spite of all the tragedy
Absolutely.
that he had endured.
Well, it was funny because it tried to rain that day. And so I was working for the Michigan House of Representatives, and all of my Caucasian colleagues were with me, and it was like, "Oh, it's gonna rain on Mandela," and I was like, "In the name of Jesus, it would not be raining." It did not rain,
Get out.
and so they looked at me. They were like, "No, you didn't." I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"It's not raining," and it did not rain.
I know that's
It was
right.
wonderful. And then I'm a
It was.
Stevie Wonder fan.
Okay.
And a lot of people got up and did not hear Stevie sing because they got up and left after Mandela spoke.
Really?
And I was kind of upset about it.
Wow.
Like, how you going to get up on Stevie Wonder?
I know, right?
Wow.
I mean, I love Nelson Mandela, but how you going to get up on Stevie Wonder?
Yes, 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 yes.
But I just moved down closer to the front.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was. It
Yes.
really was.
So I saw you on your page close with the tigers, the lions, like we are now cuddling lions.
That's right.
Wow.
That was
Not the full grown lions. We weren't,
The
we weren't
babies,
culling
the
those,
babies.
but we were absolutely playing with the cubs. And,
Right. Yes.
And I tell you, that was probably one of the most terrifying experiences. So we had visited this private reserve where they take animals from the wild, and with the hunting, going on over there, there are a number of indigenous animals that are going into extinction. And so you have private reserves that are through artificial insemination, allowing the process for these lions to produce more cubs. Lions and cheetahs and tigers and
You were giraffes.
giraffes, exactly. But to see all those animals primarily behind cages, most
Is
of
one
the time,
thing, but you were touching them.
and then when we went to go walk with the lions,
Yes.
and they let those lions out those cages, that was the most terrifying experience.
That's bad.
And so, but it was terrifying and electrifying at the same time, mesmerizing. We just had a ball.
I said, okay, now when I go to Africa, that's the kind of safari I want to go on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because he was right close,
Right there,
with
right walking with the
right
lions.
With the lions.
three of them,
Yeah, I saw them.
grown male lions, and
Yes.
one seemed to be a little bit
Aggressive.
disturbed
a
on
little
the far right. I don't know if you saw that when he
Growled,
roared,
yes,
growled.
I
I kind of
saw that.
stepped back a little bit. I said, "Oh, wait a minute now."
Oh,
We had a
but
ball.
That's
We
wonderful.
had a ball.
And I know that was a wonderful experience for your daughter. And what was the name of that organization again?
Young People Global Travel Edge.
Okay. That was one of the things that Women's Life helped support.
We did. We
Yes.
raised $1,000.
Yes,
Yeah, we did.
yes.
It was really good. Yeah,
So-
Vanessa Harris
Mhm.
helped with that. Yes.
Yeah.
So in understanding your organization, right? Just switching gears for a 2nd. What caused you to even start your organization?
Which the name of it is again.
The Institute of Trauma and Economic Justice, better known as ITEJ.
Yeah.
In fact, that's our website, itej.org.
Okay. It's a nonprofit, correct?
It's a national nonprofit organization
Okay.
that is dedicated to organizing, educating, organizing, and mobilizing Black clergy, business and political leaders, and student leaders to advance policies that will address adverse childhood experiences and their impact in our communities.
And tell people what adverse childhood experiences are in a nutshell. Because a lot of people
Yeah.
haven't heard of that term.
Of ACEs, yeah.
And don't realize that they have
been impacted.
by it.
Absolutely. Well, adverse childhood experiences, better known as ACEs. ACEs is the acronym for the terminology. And it really is just a fancy term for childhood trauma.
Yeah. Right.
You would be surprised how many people experience a number of adversities in their childhood between the ages of preconception to 17 that oftentimes
Preconception.
develop negative coping mechanisms as a result of the traumas that they've sustained. And this leads to later in life negative consequences. We now know that ACEs, according to the Center for Disease Control, is the lead public health and safety crisis in the country. We now know that as a result of untreated ACEs, it is the root of violence, sexual addictions, substance abuse use addictions, incarcerations, early deaths, and health disparities. All of these are related to untreated childhood traumas. And so the ACE study was actually conducted in the 1990s by two doctors, one Dr. Robert Anda and the other Dr. Vincent Folletti. They conducted this study. At the time, Dr. Anda was a senior researcher for Kaiser Permanente in San Diego, California, as well as a senior scientist with the Center for Disease Control. The CDC commissioned the study, and it was the largest of its kind still to this day, with more than 17,000 participants who participated in the study. And believe it or not, most of the participants, 17,000.
Wow.
They used the insurance, those who were enrolled in Kaiser's insurance plan, to be able to survey and get the questions that led to the data for the study.
And you just did a wonderful, not too long ago, event where you had Dr. Anda and many other people within the industry that were here and speaking to this, and it was really wonderful because you had schools and church people and organizations, people that deal directly with youth or people that are going through trauma. And it was something, when you going to do that again, it was just something for everyone to that's even involved in community, any type of community organization that's dealing with the public, to be aware of, because it helps you to know how to deal better with people when you look at not what they're doing, but what happened to them that led to that.
Exactly.
So you plan to do another one anytime soon?
Yeah, so what you're referencing is what we call an ITEJ Bring Together event. ITEJ is relatively a new organization that I founded in November of 2021.
Okay.
We have been very fortunate to have developed a partnership with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, which has contracted with our organization to provide these ITEJ Bring Together events. So far we have done two here in Michigan. The first was conducted at United Wholesale Mortgage, UWM, in Oakland County, and the most recent one that you're referring to took place on March the 31st at Huntington Tower here in Detroit. And we're actually working now with the state to plan our next event, which is going to be much larger and hopefully a lot more effective, because we're getting several persons from the governor's office involved, as well as a number of legislators here in the state of Michigan who will be participating in that event, which will take place in Lansing on October the 6th of this year. And so also, just even out, we're a national nonprofit, so we're doing the work here in Michigan, but we're also currently contracted to do events outside of the state. So we are working with an HBCU in Kentucky, actually in Louisville, Kentucky. There's a small HBCU there called Simmons College of Kentucky, and the Reverend Dr. Kevin Cosby is the president of the school there, and we're working with him and a number of other professionals in the Kentucky area for an ITEJ Bring Together event, as well as Tennessee and Florida right now.
Are you starting to promote the October 6th event yet? Because please give me a flyer or something so we can promote it here on the...
Yes, absolutely. So we have not yet developed the marketing materials because we're still kind of pulling the nuts and bolts together for the event. But likely by the end of this month, early September, we'll definitely have those flyers, and we'll give that material to you.
Please do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you talk about childhood adverse experiences, and you said it's the leading number one, public health, right, and safety. You mentioned incarceration, as well as education, so it's hitting all those areas. Is that where you formalized your 7 jewels, or is that something a little
The 7
different?
jewels of literacy are well, in order to help provide, so there's something called PACES, which is an acronym for positive experiences.
Okay.
And what PACES, what we know with adverse childhood experiences is that if we can teach people how to harness the negativity of what they dealt with, the adversity that they dealt with in their lives, in positive programs and services, that actually builds resilience. And so we know that in economically disadvantaged communities, which often our folks have been traumatized by a number of different things, we often don't have the financial wherewithal and resources to participate in a number of things. And so we attempt to close the gap with respect to financial literacy, digital literacy, cultural literacy, environmental literacy. There right now in states that are experiencing extreme weather conditions, particularly in the south and southwest, extreme heat right now. And there are African American communities and rural communities where people don't have air conditioning. So we're complaining about the air conditioning in the room, in our rooms in the north, whereas folks dealing with 100-degree plus weather right now in the southwest don't have air conditioning. And so the asthmas and the other conditions that are brought on by various environmental issues also cause traumas. We experienced that here in Michigan with respect to an environmental injustice with respect to Flint and the water crisis, and how those types of traumas later impact persons. And so to be able to provide literacy that helps people to better have the knowledge. We're all ministers here. The scripture says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And so what we attempt to do through our organization in providing positive experiences is also to provide the literacy and the knowledge that help to put people on a path and a trajectory for long-term success.
Have you all been able to identify how some of the impact from the 2 events that you've had thus far has helped in the community?
Absolutely. So we have received a lot of positive feedback. One, one of the best advantages that these ITEJ bring together events do is that, number one, it creates greater awareness. Believe it or not, most people, if they were to take the ACE assessment, most of us would say we've experienced some level of adversity in our lives.
There's like a list of different types of things, and you might have gone through at least 8 of them and never even thought about it.
And never, exactly. So that's the ACE questionnaire.
How long is that?
It's a 10-question survey.
Oh, just 10. Okay.
Yeah. And so it was.
Trust me, you've probably experienced 8 of them.
Well, I personally have experienced 8 of them.
Me too.
But I did a group of state presidents from the National Baptist Convention, women presidents from the Women's Auxiliary, and believe it or not, there was a woman on there who had not experienced. Her ACE score was a 0, which means that in that 10 questionnaire, and this is an African American woman, she experienced a 0. But she made the comment that she probably believed her mother may have experienced a 10. And so one of the things we talk about is intergenerational transmission of trauma. That if I've been traumatized and I've not dealt with my traumas, then I can pass those traumas on to the next generation. So her question was, I wonder, how was my mother, who experienced probably a 10, able to raise me and my siblings with the type of love that she poured into us, where we didn't experience those. And so
that's very rare.
Exactly. But through faith and through understanding your own traumas and turning it into empathy, where you can realize what you experienced in your life and not want that for your children. Those are the types of ways that we can begin to end the cycles of generational traumas, by helping people to become more aware of their own adversity so that they can be more intentional in providing love and empathy, acceptance and belonging for their own children.
Yeah, it's so 2 questions. I love the fact that you have stated various time about empathy. So you want to elaborate on that for a minute, because people tend to have a misunderstanding of what empathy really is. Oftentimes people look at empathy as really relating to that other person. They're able to relate, and it's really not. So how do you guys go about even teaching empathy? And then my second question is, how are you educating leaders within the church? Because the church has often, through the years, misunderstood what trauma and mental health is really all about.
And that's a sad truth, because the church is the one place where we celebrate a God who personified empathy. He became one of us. And so to your first question, what is empathy? empathy is the ability to actually see yourself in the shoes of someone else.
That's right.
And when you can, most of us have not walked in the shoes of others, but we all have experienced some level of hurt, pain, trauma in our lives, and we know how we felt when we experienced that level of trauma. And so for persons who experience trauma in their lives, and we're all different, unique individuals. So our backgrounds, our contexts, our histories also inform how we respond to the things that we go through. You and I can live in the same household and experience the same realities, but because we're two different people, we interpret them differently.
And that's so true. And so I even wondered when you said that, my counseling background just kicked right in, and understanding that the young lady that you talked about who experienced zero, I wonder what her siblings actually say that.
Exactly.
It makes a difference,
It
because
does.
I know my sister and brother and we talk about things that we have gone through, and then they'll say, what household was you in?
Oh, yeah.
and basically it's my younger brother and sister that would say that. Well, they were younger. We got 6 and 7 years between us. My daddy and mother wasn't the same.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
they really wasn't. And my mom had my sister when she was 40. I told my sister, you didn't even get half of what we got, okay? So it really does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
My sister said the same thing, and we grew up in the same household with our mother and our father, and we're only like a year and a half apart.
Wow.
And I experienced a good 8 of those 10 traumas. She said I didn't have any trauma. And she didn't. She
Wow.
did not. And we grew up in the same household.
There you go.
But it was different.
It's about
Yeah.
interpretation. So I'm really happy that you said that, because oftentimes we are relating our experiences, and we are judging people based on what we were able to get over, what we
Exactly.
were able to do.
Exactly.
But they're not you.
Exactly.
And so being able to walk in their shoes, understand what they are about, and knowing that we serve a God who actually walked in our shoes,
Exactly.
and also was able to sympathize with us, and willing to take the pain for us is different, but understanding that. So I just really feel like the church has missed it. Even when I tried to deal with my trauma within the church, it just wasn't addressed properly.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, and I can only imagine it's still not being addressed. And so I'll
Yeah.
let you speak to that a little more.
Well, no, I mean, that's what my dissertation was on.
Okay.
So I'm actually excited. My dissertation committee of advisors actually strongly encouraged that I get my dissertation published. So I'm excited to share that Friendship Press. I have a contract with Friendship Press.
Okay, very good.
They are the publishing house.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Of the National Council of Churches. And so in September, I'll have my digital version of my book that you guys will. I'll let you know about that.
Thank
And then my hard copy comes out in October.
Okay.
And so very excited about that.
Congratulations.
It's a very challenging piece of literature, because we strongly critique the church from the perspective of what the church, particularly the black church, what we're supposed to be about.
Yes.
And how often, instead of being healing agents, our
We're the wrecking balls.
condemnation,
church.
some of
That's
our
right, we're the
greatest
wrecking
traumas.
ball.
Some of the greatest trauma.
And this is what it is. We all love this verse, right? John 3:16. Let's say it.
For
For
God
God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. See, we know that,
Yeah,
right?
we know it.
But most folks in our churches who also can say the same thing, they don't go to the next verse. The next verse says, now of course we just say about what God's love did for us, about the whole world. But the next verse says, for God sent not His Son into the world to condemn the world.
That's right.
So even though He was God in the flesh, He didn't come pointing fingers. He didn't come to judge.
That's right.
He came to show love. And we are called to be His disciples, and we who represent the church, that is our number one priority, should be our priority and responsibility.
Is to make disciples.
That's right.
And what does that mean? I say that all the time, Pastor Keon. God, I do. Because when we look at even the last part in Matthew, he said, go out and make disciples.
Yes.
Everybody wants to go out and make a new church.
Yep.
You got 10 churches in one block.
That's
How
right.
about all you come together and somebody
Well,
go out
that's
and make
a part
disciples?
of our traumas.
Ah.
So, part of our traumas is that, the historical traumas of slavery. I was looking at some images recently, you guys may have seen them, where some black men back in the 60s were picketing with signs that read, I am a man. Because some of the tactics and scare tactics, fear tactics that some of our white brothers and sisters imposed upon our people, the legacy of lynching, right? That was an intentional fear. Exactly.
Of a man,
We couldn't look the white man in the eye,
exactly.
right?
We were considered with the cattle were better,
exactly.
more, considered a more better property than we were.
So when you are made to feel that way, right? People make you feel that way, then that causes a certain level of insecurity within yourself.
It would.
And if you recall, and I know most people give the Reverend Jesse Jackson credit for this, but it was actually King who laid the foundation to help us to realize, and when I say us, African Americans in the struggle, is that we are somebody.
That's right.
King first gave the speech to children at a school in Philadelphia, where he gave that speech to tell them, hey, I don't care how nappy your hair is, I don't care how full your lips are or how black your skin, you are somebody.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when we are made to feel as though we are not somebody, sometimes when we get that platform, like the churches, where the black man could redeem himself, he couldn't get no respect outside anywhere else, but he could get respect in that church,
Yes.
right? We couldn't dress up to go places because most of our folks were picking cotton and doing things. But when you had the opportunity to go to church, you could fix yourself
Put your
up.
finest on.
Put your finest on.
That's
And
right.
we still
And we
carry
still do that.
on those traditions,
Yeah.
not recognizing that it comes from the root of us being made to feel like we're not somebody. And so now today, when these young kids come into our churches and they got their jeans on and their pants sagging, the folks that grew up in the church wearing suits and ties, they're looking at these kids like, why y'all coming up in here like this, right? So the same ways that we have been made to feel less than, oftentimes based upon people's traumas and their stories, we, the church, have made people to feel ashamed
That's right.
and guilty for the things that they have gone through. One last thing I'll say, and then we'll open back to the conversation here, is that you mentioned it earlier, the saying of Dr. Anda, and that is, when people aren't behaving in a way that we think is the social norm or the social standard, we should stop asking the question, what's wrong with you? And start asking people, what happened to you?
That's
Because
right.
when we can make safe spaces for people to talk about what happened to them,
That's right.
that's the first opportunity for them to get their healing. And
the
we should
church
all
should
be
be
striving
safe
to be
space.
healers. That's
Well-
right.
Well, and one of the things that I say about the church is that the church is full of sick people. That's really the bottom line. And what needs to happen is the trainings that you're providing, because people are not educated enough. And I don't mean going out and getting a degree, but educated on trauma or mental health or what the little girl has gone through. I'm reading this book, and it's called Push Out. And it's talking about how black girls are being pushed out of the school system, and it's being systematically done to push them out of the school system by the way they treat black girls.
Wow.
And so they treat them like Jezebels. They are identified by, let's say, the color of their skin. And now even more, it even talks about Latinos and black girls are now being more incarcerated than any other ethnic group.
Wow.
And
And have you
was a
seen
while.
the documentary called The 13th, telling you about how black boys and how you talked about systems. It's been systematically, they have in ghetto and areas, they have the bars on the doors and the big thick doors and the bars on the windows. That was all part of design to get them mentally ready to go to prison.
Wow.
You got to watch that. It's on Netflix.
Wow.
It's called
You know,
The
I heard
13th.
about it. I did.
I've not
It's a
seen that
docuseries.
documentary.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
it's
It
been
is-
out for years, hasn't
It's
it?
well, I don't know how long, but it's
Okay.
I've seen it a couple of times. It's really good and talks about the system, how it was set up to get you prepared to go to prison.
Wow.
So you wouldn't be, when you hear the slamming of the prison door, you know, you would become accustomed to that. When you see the bars on the walls, on your windows and everything,
Wow,
you're
no-
just accustomed to
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's
Michelle Alexander
more,
wrote the book, The New Jim Crow, which, you know, the prison industry is big money.
exactly.
And so they need to have
It's
somebody
another
locked
prison
up. And
system.
so who they going to lock up?
It's another slavery system.
Exactly.
Well, they even talked about how in systems, school systems, how we are made to line up. Boys are made. They do that in the prison. They line them up, and I was like, wow, you know, you never really think about these things.
But you know, I
going
work in
on.
the prisons. I work in 2 prisons
Yeah.
here, and I can say praise be unto God who causes us to triumph. And a lot of these people are coming out, and I love it. And they're getting out, and we're working for prison reform and trying to help them to come out. And when they come out, they need a body of people to wrap themselves around them to get them acclimated back to society. And so, like, one of the things that I do with the recycling the furniture and home goods is we get them into. We talked about empathy.
Sure.
You know, when we can, I've gone through some traumatic experiences, and when I could look around, when I think about how I was given certain things, didn't have to pay for certain things, that took a load off my mental mind, took a load off my pocketbook.
Yeah.
And so we give them furniture, we give them couches and dining room sets,
Sure.
and refrigerators, and I got 3 refrigerators to pick up now. And so that helps, whether they're prisoners burned out or whatever this trauma that someone has gone through for whatever reason. But a lot of the prisoners are starting to come out. Matter of fact, next week we're going to have a gentleman on that just got out of prison.
Okay.
And the Michigan jail system has been put in the hands of a phenomenal Christian man now, when it has not been in the hands of a Christian overseer, and now it is. And working with them in some of the things. So we're going to have them on next week.
Okay.
So please be sure and tune in to that too. And
I think-
I'd like for you guys to connect.
Okay.
So, you know, Michelle, can you give the number for the callers can call in for the few?
Yes, please. 313-355-6018. I didn't do a lot of station IDs this time.
No,
right? But you're listening to us on Wjzz Cool TV, and you can catch us on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and all top streaming platforms. And WJZZ is the coolest TV station, or coolest station in the world. Again, you can call us here at 313-355-6018. Maybe we have a caller that has a question that they would ask based on some of the things that we've spoken about this evening. You can give us a call here at 313-355-6018. But again, many people have gone through different traumas, and I think it behooves each of us, when you've gone through something, or even if you haven't, we were put on this planet to, not for just ourselves. What can we do to help someone else? Where can we show empathy? How can we, and everybody has a different, and when we talk about the church, it says go out and make disciples. We all have a different part that we play in the discipleship process, in the helping someone process to let their light shine brighter in the earth.
I think we can learn too a lot, right, from the disciples, because Jesus was their teacher and he was leading them, but they had personalities, you know. I mean, Paul was not discipled by Jesus Christ, but look how Peter was, and how he was very judgmental and was trying to put a noose around somebody else's neck that he couldn't even put around his neck. So we have those personalities that are out there. I believe, though, that they need to be challenged more, and I'm wondering, Dr. Payton, what can be done without the pastors of the church feeling like they're being talked about or put on the spot or challenged in that way, to start understanding what needs to be done in our communities with people who have been traumatized?
Well, I think the pastors are beginning, some are beginning to see it.
Okay.
I think that the pandemic has exacerbated the traumas that people have been enduring. We know that during the pandemic, child abuse tripled.
Yes.
According to
Yes.
recent statistics.
Yeah.
And people, are suffering from paralyzing ambivalence, where they don't want to go to work. Employers can't keep people employed. That includes the churches. Churches are losing some of their parishioners who have not returned.
Yeah.
Some of the volunteers that they would rely on in the past
Not
are also
returning.
suffering from paralyzing ambivalence.
Yeah.
So, the effects of trauma are beginning to become a lot more noticed. And not only are pastors seeing it, but our governments are seeing it. We have places, we have about 13 states now that have become trauma-informed states, where, if not through legislation, governors have signed executive orders to make their states trauma-informed, which has created policies that are trauma-informed policies in their states. And so I think people are beginning to wake up and see.
That's great.
I think the strategies that pastors are going to have to begin to engage is being the church, and not just having folk come to church for the sake of socialization and some of the other things that we've had, but seeing themselves as healing centers.
Yes, healing centers. I just want to say, you talked about DeWin, and they're having their 9th annual interface-based Wellness Beyond the Walls. You are not forgotten. And that's going to be August the 17th and 18th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can go to their website. And as you was talking about that, I was remembering, because they are very much interface based and really work to build relationships within the community. Just hearing you even say
dealing
the
with
word
mental
yeah,
challenges
dealing
and
with the
traumas.
mental
They're
challenges.
the largest behavioral health organization in Southeast Michigan, and they were our partner through DHHS for the event that we hosted here in Detroit back in March.
And we've had one of the young ladies.
Yeah,
there,
Cara. Yeah, Cara Thomas, and also Cassandra.
Cassandra Phipps.
Yep, Phipps. We had both of them here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
They're
really
wonderful.
Great. They
and
are.
Their CEO, Eric Doa, is trained in political science and has had a career in prosecution for a number of years. And now he's the leader of this behavioral health organization. And so as a panelist for our event in March, the conversation was, how does your new role as CEO of this behavioral health organization inform your reflection of some of your practices when you were a prosecutor? And so to hear his story of what he would be doing differently as a prosecutor, understanding how people have been impacted by traumas, because the answer for everybody is not to be locked up in prison. And I think that's another conversation that needs to be had when you have states that are trauma informed. And I'm working here in Michigan. I'm on the state's Prevention and Wellness Advisory Council, where we're looking to adopt trauma informed policies that our governor and our state will advance. And so hopefully through the October event, we'll have a lot more traction and support for the things we're trying to do here in Michigan to become a trauma informed state.
Are you looking to run for anything down the road?
I ran
Political
5 years ago. I was on Facebook. You know how Facebook sends you those memories?
Yeah.
I ran for state representative 5 years ago in Pontiac and lost terribly because in my little country town in Pontiac, I'm born and raised there. I can say it. My
That's
folks
right,
have been
you
there
can
for
say
years.
it.
I've been pastored there for 17 in our little country town. Our folks, I think the sentiment has changed more recently, but people believe that the pastors should not be politicians. And but the scripture says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice.
That's
But when
right.
the wicked rule, the people mourn. And I think we have a lot of mourning going
We got
on
a
right
lot
now.
of money.
And we need a lot more righteous folk.
And we need to be vetting
To put in
people and
office.
asking questions.
That's right.
So that we can know who the righteous and who are the wicked.
That's
We're
right.
just voting for people for all other types of reasons.
That's
and
right.
Not really asking questions.
That's right.
So.
Well, some of us are not asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to ask more questions.
Yes,
Well,
I
I'm
think that's
excited
really
about the
important.
opportunity for Hill Harper here in the state
I
of
am as
Michigan.
well.
It's about time. I have been saying vocally that if Georgia can have its first black U.S. senator, there's no reason why the state of Michigan can't. And I think that now is a tremendous opportunity for us to put forth an African-American candidate who is articulate, who has been trained and prepared. He's not just an actor. But Hill has been formally trained. He went to law school at Harvard. In fact, he was Barack Obama's classmate at Harvard. He's gotten his master's in political science from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. And so the brother is, he's been trained his
He's also
whole life.
military OCS.
Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, military OCS. He's
Okay.
an officer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
I
was
didn't know
like,
that.
what?
But his portfolio is quite extensive, and he's had a whole career of philanthropy and giving
Yes.
back and speaking to social justice issues. If people Google him or go to YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and put in his name, you'll see a number of social justice issues that he has been very vocal about for a number of years. And it's things that I think align with where many of our views share. And so I'm hopeful. And I was excited for him to be here tonight and to exchange with him. But I
We
look
were
forward
too.
to you guys
Yeah.
having him on the 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there are two black people that are running. Leslie
Three.
Love, three. Okay, Leslie Love is running.
She's running as a Democrat, and then Taylor, she's running as a Republican.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
no, well, on the Democratic side, you have three: Hill, Pam Pugh, and Lisa Love.
Yeah, Leslie.
Leslie Love. And
And
then
then
I know on the Republican side,
Taylor, I know it's her last name. That's all I know.
and I think that it's being rumored that Chief Craig
And Alexandria Taylor.
is running as well.
Okay. All right. Well, we are out of time. Did you want to make any last comments?
Thank you guys. I apologize. I didn't say that from the beginning. Thank you for having me on
Thank
your
you
show
for having
again.
me.
It's been a pleasure always
Yes.
to be here to share with
Yeah.
you
We
guys.
always want to
Enjoy
have
you.
you on and share all the
I
wonderful things that you're
know.
doing around our communities and taking it around the world.
I appreciate
Yes,
you very
thank
much.
you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Well, we will see you again next Wednesday here, 6 to 7 p.m., where we will have a prisoner, someone who was formerly incarcerated, who is now a friend and a neighbor. And we will also have Dr. What did I say his name was? I forgot. Elder Orlando Gregory.
Oh, okay.
And another gentleman that's just been that is now a friend, was formerly incarcerated.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have them on next Wednesday right here on Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. Be sure and tune in at 6 p.m. and you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other